So very good evening, sir. We hope you and your family are doing well during the lockdown period.
Yes, absolutely.
This period is going to be tough for many people. Everybody is operating from home.
Yes,
So things are not the way used to be in the earlier days. Uh, I would take this opportunity to thank you to join on the Clyde Talk show, which is all about we are trying to understand the safety perception from the experts like you who have rich experience in the industry, which can benefit the other safety professional and as the industry as a whole. So today's topic is all about the thought of the leadership and the safety strategy. But before I could formally begin with the today's topic, let me introduce you to the viewers who will be watching this Flight Talk show. Today we have with us Mr. Mahesh Chandak, who is HSC head, Southeast region, and he is also looking after the HSC business partners as a Corp Science Division APAC at Bayers Group. And I appreciate your valuable time you have given to this talk, sir. To begin with, as I said, today's topic is all about the leadership and the safety strategy post lockdown, how it should be seen, and definitely during the lockdown also. As we know, as we understand, leadership is all about any company who has survived through the challenges and the leadership they have shown has really come up with flying colors. So, having understood that leadership plays a very key important role, we would like to understand from you what do you think will be the future leadership challenges in the organization to have the vision of zero accident in the organization?
yeah. Thanks, Mahindra, and good afternoon to everybody who's listening to this conversation. So, I will share my perspective here. And first of all, there are so many types of organization, businesses, in manufacturing, services, and really the exact challenges and the exact opportunities are going to be really different. For all these different organizations. But broadly, we'll try to keep it generic and based on my experience. I think when we talk of challenges in the organization, safety challenges for future, for leaders, we have to see what kind of leader are we talking about. Are we talking about the business leaders who have to, deliver the volume, deliver the business? Are we talking about the safety leaders of the organization? Yes, they both work together for the zero vision that you talked, but both have to look at it things slightly differently, because the accountability of keeping people safe lies with the business leaders, and the responsibility to help ensure that put the program systems in place belongs to the HSE leaders. So I would like to bifurcate, and talk about both of these in terms of what are the challenges. So first is the business leader, right? So business leaders challenge in future when it comes to safety is really this particular COVID crisis is really going to make them very people centric, I feel, first of all. So earlier the business leader would more think of the of the business, and when it comes to safety challenges, they would worry about more of the unsafe situations at site, uh, you know and they would try to support the site, or give the resources to take care of it. Sometimes the business leaders take employees for granted, that employees will come, deliver, and support. But with this crisis, we realize that we can't take employees for granted, because every employee is having their own challenges, whether they are working from home or even tomorrow they start going to sites. Their values, their culture becomes important. So I think first of all, the approach to safety, for the business leaders, will be more people centric than just plant centric. So things like mental well-being, this will be a very important topic for future leaders. If the employee cannot, if we cannot take the employee for granted, as I said, so what is the morale of the employee? What is the anxiety in the mind of the employee? What are the concerns being faced by employees? Because employees have a lot of concerns when it comes to future. Now everybody is saying that, oh, is my role first of all going to be existing? Will I have a job in future? So it's not just safety. All these big concerns they are facing for them and their family, and if all these concerns are there, it is very difficult for them to focus on the job and work safely. So mental well-being, whether it is social, whether it is physical health, whether it is the community they live in, if that is not there, the to expect them to work safely in plant is going to be difficult. So that's the first thing employers will have to look at. Second is the way the business leaders structure the organization. I think that will have to fundamentally change. Sometimes the organizations have very, very strong verticals. So you have HSE or health, safety, environment vertical, you have HR, you have operations, maintenance, you have what we call site services or functions who take care of sites and employee services. I think all these functions are very important. They are subject matter experts, but for organization to work in a resilient way in future when such crises are faced is to ensure that these functions collaborate. So it's for a business leaders to structure the organization such that the functions are collaborating very nicely with each other. And when the organizations collaborate nicely, they can get over crises like COVID and any future crisis much, much faster. Those are the two challenges for business leaders. When it comes to HSE leaders, right, whose job is to, who are responsible to support the business leaders, I think first is HSE leaders cannot have too much of a governance-based approach to safety. So things like audits, inspections, etc. Sometimes the approach is, okay, to fix things from these things and put the corrective and preventive action in place and then improve. That liberty may not be there so much in future. So the approach has to be to make the plant intrinsically safe rather than have too much of governance. The approach will have to be to empower the sites to do what they need to do rather than check what they are doing and try to make them do in a particular way. So I think the reliance on governance will go down and the importance of making plants intrinsically safe will go up. Second is, I think this whole approach to how do we deliver HSE knowledge to our people. So a lot of classroom training, a lot of paper and documentation in procedure systems, that is going to be a challenge to maintain in future. We saw that with this COVID crisis, everybody is working from home, then they come back and they have to start plants suddenly. So digital content, digital training is going to be very, very important. And how a site or a business maintains HSE documentation in an electronic format, how easily it is accessible to people. Are they following things like electronic permits, electronic training, web-based training, customized content, and not just a generic content? This is going to be very, very important. And last is, like I said about governance, even it's about the behavior. HSE leaders will have to ensure that the key risks that they face, the most important risks, are not governed through a rigid behavior-based safety program, but those behaviors have become safe habits in their employees. So when there is less governance, the employees will still do the right thing on the ground. So these would be the challenges in which to work for both business and the HSE leaders.
Oh, that's wonderful. What I could understand from it, you're talking about employee-centric leadership. You're talking about where business leaders and the HSE team has to develop collaboratively a program which can actually connect with every employee during this lockdown period, or maybe after this, if the organization change the working policies, if they want to work remotely. So, having said that, I want to ask the second question. Do you think, as you're talking about the employee-centric leadership, so do organizations will have to work on a new leadership development program, you mean to say, or they will have to design a new framework for this leadership development program?
I don't think we need a different leadership development program. But we need to bring up the basics. So the basics of organizations who are successful in delivering business and safety is the fact that their managers demonstrate what we call safety leadership. So the organizations have to inculcate safety leadership back into their managers, because end of the day, an employee works with a manager, and for them there is nothing like organization culture of safety. It's the culture or the behavior they see in their teams is what is the organization culture for them. So really we want the managers of the organization to focus on employee engagement. If their employees, if their team members are engaged with the organization, are engaged with the teams, then they will be engaged with safety. So whether it is a shop floor supervisor or a plant head or a finance head who has large teams working in office, we would all want them to demonstrate some kind of a safety leadership. So that's the focus for the future managers, which safety needs to support, and bring into them.
So having said that, what are the competencies needed for the leadership then? Future competencies.
Yeah. See, every organization comes up with what we call individual contributors, competencies for individual contributors and competency for leaders. So I think those competencies remain the same. How we adapt that to safety is important. And what is the purpose of demonstrating this competency? I think let's talk about that first. So the purpose would be to engage the employees, as we heard. Now, how do you engage employees? There are 4 C's primarily. The first is credibility. We want leaders who will walk the talk and demonstrate credibility for what they say. Gone are the days when leaders could say, wear helmet when you go to shop floor, and they themselves are not wearing helmet. From that time to even managers on how they work at their workstation, employees are constantly watching them. Employees are constantly learning from their managers. So first is, a manager would have to demonstrate credibility in what they say, so that people believe, in their words. Second would be care and concern. Gone are the days when safety you could enforce as a rule. Safety is no longer enforceable as rules, especially when you talk of young workforce, diversely located workforce, and fragmented organization where they have large number of sites, and using technology they are being managed. The safety will have to be delivered more as a care and concern. So that's the second C. And so yes, every organization will need what we call cardinal rules, or some rules, or some non-negotiable rules. But end of the day, the employees will have to understand what is the purpose of these regulations, and the overall safety program has to be more like a care and concern, which is customized to fit the purpose rather than one size fit all. Third is clarity, especially when people are working remotely, especially when we are going to be stressed as HSE fraternity. I think in future we have to be ready to do more with less. We may have to, for example, look at multiple sites instead of one site. We may have to take care of not just the manufacturing side, but also the commercial team who is out there selling the product in the market, and let's say facing vehicle safety risk. Now, as a HSE professional, we have to bring clarity to what is expected from which stakeholder. As a business manager, also the same would be expected. So clarity in approach is going to be very, very important. Many times we write procedures which are so long and so confusing, people don't know what to do, and that's when accidents happen. Now, in this age of mobile, in the age of tablets and small laptop screens, how difficult or easy it is for you to read a 4-page procedure if I give you just now, correct? Instead of a 1-page pictorial procedure which tells you what is green and what is red, and that connects with you much easily, right? So that's one. The fourth is, I think, most important for employers and managers and business leaders and HSE leaders, is to build a sense of purpose amongst their teams. The sense of purpose connects, that's the fourth C, the employees to the purpose of the organization. So we, for example, I belong to Bayer, and we are into pharmaceuticals, we are into crop science, and in pharmaceuticals, we have patients to take care. In crop science, our customers are the farmers who make the food. And hence our motto is health for all and hunger for none. So with this motto, we have to run our sites. So even in this lockdown 1, 2, and 3, our R&D sites have been operating. Our manufacturing sites have been operating. Imagine to make employees come out of homes, report to sites in the midst of all this COVID crisis. We cannot make a rule-based approach. You have to come. Employees are eligible to take leave. They are eligible to say, no, I'm not comfortable. What brings them out of homes into the plants is the sense of purpose, that unless they come to site, unless they do their small bit, the plant cannot make the production that they need. And if they can't make the production that they need, we won't meet the needs of the customer. So farmers, for example, in India are right now sowing or preparing for the Kharif season. When monsoon comes, they would need the seeds to plant. They would need the crop protection chemicals to take care of what they plant, so that they can get their commodities produced, and we meet our food security needs. So I think this whole value chain has to be understood or explained to the employee. And unless we go out and work, we will not be able to meet this whole purpose of the industry that we are in. I think so somewhere safety has and business has to uh, create that sense of purpose. And when sense of purpose is there, people also work more safely because they understand the longer objective and not just today's shortcut. And today's shortcuts is what causes the accident. So I think a robust safety leadership program wherein we bring real life examples to life, we do role plays. It's not a theoretical course, safety leadership. It has to be very practical approach. What are the day-to-day nuances? What are the day-to-day challenges a shift supervisor faces when out of 10 people, few don't report to work? Do they have to cut corners for safety, etc.? So bringing these examples out, we make sure that every manager we have in our organization goes through this course and lives the content of the course, and that's how I think we try to get engagement, and we try to improve on our safety performance.
Oh, I could understand that 4 C's of leadership, the 4 competencies you talked about, and the last one was very interesting. If you have a cause to connect, then people will definitely do much more what is needed. Not accept the rules that we have in the organization. These are the rules to follow. But I think more than the rules, the cause has to be bigger. That is what you're talking about in the leadership. Having understood that, I would like to understand. As you said, the leadership has to be employee centric. Leadership need to demonstrate, and the 4 C's of leadership. The last one was the cause. Do you see a new safety strategy companies will have to adopt post lockdown to demonstrate this leadership? So do you think a complete safety different strategy altogether? Do you see any change in that?
Absolutely. I think what we see is safety is not a function just for risk mitigation or avoiding accidents. Safety is not just an overhead or a cost to keep people safe. Safety is a enabling function which helps the business not just reduce accidents but to grow the business. Okay, so safety is an enabler for the business. Safety is fundamentally designed to show care and concern and improve employee engagement. And when employee engagement is good in organization, the employees will undertake discretionary efforts to deliver more. They will work longer with the organization and they will have a higher productivity. And this is what we say a great place to work. So if you see the top India's great place to work, and I'm happy to work in one such organization, they cannot be great place to work unless they're a safe place to work.
Correct.
So when we talk of safety strategy, the strategy is not just about keep zero accidents. The strategy should be how can safety attract talent in the organization? How can safety motivate people to deliver more safely, right? So when we think of all that and what value safety can bring to the organization, and I have not even talked about reputation. Think of companies whom you respect as a HSE professionals, right? Because they follow something good and they take care of people, and their image in the marketplace, right, is something intangible. That's what we call the brand value.
Yes.
So if that is what safety can do, the safety strategy has to be something where it is more of output based than input based. Okay, and I'll explain that. Traditionally, safety, when you see a safety person presenting in a management meeting, they will have a lot of tables and data on the screen. So many trainings done, so many inspections done, number of findings closed from the last audit, so many certifications obtained, so many work permits issued, etc., etc., etc. All not that these activities are not important, but these activities are the inputs. These activities are what we do, and to measure success of safety by these is not going to be enough. We look at number of suggestions which people report. Yes, that is important to keep us proactive, but end of the day, these are just numbers of efforts being taken by different people, and that is a lot of data. It doesn't generate insights and forward looking strategy. There are a lot of data which is more of looking into rear view mirror. When you are in driving and you look at rear view mirror, it doesn't help you to drive further, right? It just helps you to see what you crossed. So when we look at future looking safety strategy, we have to look into the windscreen. We have to see where safety can take the organization rather than look into the rear view mirrors. So when we look into the future, we can see what output safety can bring. So some of these outputs are, how is safety helping employee engagement scores? Many good organizations measure what is called engagement scores. if you see the organizations who have very good employee engagement, safety is a very, very important pillar of it, because fundamentally employees believe that my company takes care of me. My company will not cut corners when it comes to keeping me safe, and hence they feel committed to work for the organization. So a good safety leader will look at employee engagement scores and what is the message from that data which they need to bring into their safety programs, and work with HR. So again, a lot of collaborative work, what I mentioned earlier, working with HR to help create a great and safe place to work. That should be the safety strategy of the organization. Second is, I think safety again is not about these activities, but end of the day, are we able to produce the volumes that we need safely? Okay. And do people, employees go back home more satisfied and more healthy because of the things that they learn at site? So I think it's a lot about being employee centric and measuring some outcomes, the health of your employees, the well-being of your employees, um, the morale of your employees. Some of it is measurable, some of it is not measurable, but I think a good safety leader, when they go to sites, when they meet people, they get a sense of it. They can get a sense of it. Is safety becoming a pain point? In certain sites, safety ties you in knots,
Correct.
because you have to take that approval, this approval, and it slows down everything. So I think when we say safety is more output driven, for safety function, the customers also many times internal. How fast do we help business deliver a new project? And nowadays with agile, nowadays with every change, every wave of transformation is happening much, much faster than before. If organizations don't adapt, they will be left behind. And safety is one of those functions which really has to fundamentally change for organizations to be more agile. Otherwise, just the project approvals, and you know what happened in India, right? When our projects would take 1 year, 2 years for environment impact assessment or environment clearance, it doesn't get us foreign direct investments. So we need to take care of environment, yet we have to be agile and quick and help the business grow faster. And I think HSE person has to think very business like, I think in future. We have to help the bottom line, the bottom line, and a top line, bottom line, and employee morale. So I think all these outcomes is what will define future strategy when it comes to safety.
So you mean to say you're talking about a holistic approach where we talk about employees also, where we talk about the engagement ratio. Companies should use some kind of diagnostic tool to have know the employee engagement score in terms of the safety, and definitely it gives a goodwill to the company and company to attract more talent also. That is what we're talking. And the last one you touched about the agile. Company has to be agile in today's world when things are changing very fast around us. So having said that, how do you see safety and production here onwards? Because post-lockdown, everything was going very smooth. We used to go to site, capture some unsafe acts, and do some audits, as you have earlier mentioned. But now it is not going to be the same. So how do you see safety and production? Because you sit in a lot of board meetings with the top management. So how top management sees safety and production here onwards?
Yeah, I first of all feel the importance of safety increases manifold when it comes to the future. This whole COVID crisis, end of the day, when it comes to an organization, it's about keeping the people safe from this virus or any risk. And so the approach has to be more, holistic on and off the job. So for companies, manufacturing or production will remain a track where they need to progress, and safety is another track. So imagine, two tracks of the railway line, and they appear different. And sometimes when you just look down, it appears, oh, this track is taking me here and the safety is taking me some other track. But the secret sauce lies in organizations who can align these tracks such that they move hand in hand, they move parallel to each other, and somewhere in the horizon, they will meet. So we need to work on both these tracks. These tracks don't interfere with each other. Neither they go far from each other, neither they come too close to each other. So each one has its importance. And when that's why the railways, they always maintain their tracks properly, because it's the track which gets you safely from where you are and where you want to be. And I think both these will remain important tracks. And that's the art of how safety track should not be the one which slows down the train, correct? The train has to move at the same speed. And how do you oil your machine? How do you oil your systems so that safety becomes enabling driver? I think so. There is no question of production or safety. There is no question of this or that. I think it is about both. And safety remains the first priority, along with quality, along with community, right? Uh,
Yes.
and cost of production, and so on. So there is no doubt about it.
Oh, thank you so much, sir. I appreciate your valuable time to join us on the show on a Client Talk. Before I could leave and we could stop at this end, you have a rich experience and you're from IIT Bombay as a chemical engineer. You have done masters from USA. You hold 18 years of experience from various industries in 20 countries. Would you like to leave with some thoughts to the safety professionals?
Yeah. I am no expert, and I think everybody on the call has their own expertise. But I'll tell my own personal, the way I think. I think when such crisis happens, I've been, typically I travel 40-50% of the time, and struggling to, come back and meet the requirements of the business and so on. And now completely my life has changed since last 2 months, 3 months. I've been at home, not even traveling to office. So it does give, even though we all working hard and there are a lot of calls, I'm sure everybody on the phone on your lines thinks that, but it does give us some time to introspect. And for me, I think one is to learn some new skills, to learn some new ways of doing things. That's one way we can look at the future. And I'm sure everybody, we all know what are the technical skills we have and what are the things we don't have and we need to learn, and we can do it. I think people have been doing very good job, and I see on my LinkedIn so many connections. They have done this online training and that online training, and I think that's great. That's great. Each one is doing. Forget about, it's not about showing off. I think maybe half the people did something but didn't put it up, and half the people put it up. But what we get a sense is people are learning, and that's why we see a lot of these kind of webinars. That's a good sign, I feel. But second thing I feel is, when we talk of development, our own development as a HSC professional, I feel there are three factors. Okay, such training or courses after some time adds only 10% to your development. I can do 15 courses in the next 1 year, but it doesn't mean I get a higher role than what I do. So these courses are important to understand the basics, but they give you 10%, I would say, weightage to go to the next level. 20 to 30% is by coaching and mentoring. Having a good coach who is senior than you, who has seen, uh, who knows you, who can give you feedback, and these coaches and mentors can sometimes be the leaders from the organization, your stakeholders, your managers, your business people whom you work with. I think learning from them and taking 360 feedback, right? These people see you from all the angles, really helps us to the next level. And third and most important is, I think 70% comes from on the job experiences. So it's how are we, for example, in today's age, handling this crisis? Are we sitting there waiting for somebody to send an email and respond? Or are we actively becoming part of this crisis management teams in our organizations? Why can't we be an active member and go beyond HSC? Work with HR, work with different functions, because HSC person knows the people very well. And if you know the people, we can use that skill to engage people while they are at home. Right? So maybe the job of, if you see many organizations, they will have a very good safety performance this year because plants have less people, so there will be less accidents. But that we should not stop there. We should think of, okay, my people are now at home. Can I deliver some sessions to them through maybe yoga or some other employee engagement activities through using technology, so that they feel engaged, working with other functions. So I think the safety professional has to say, when I go back to the new normal, right, I am going to do the same activities maybe, but I am going to learn from each one. And that's where the growth happens. If we learn every day of our career, many times we just look at what input we have to give, what output, what task. We don't think of ourselves. I think I would encourage all the HSC professionals on the call, think about yourself, evaluate your work, your learning from that, take feedback from people whom you work, how you can, what will take you to the next level. If we learn from our on the job experiences and participate wholeheartedly, I think that brings the biggest opportunity for us to grow. And that kind of realization or that kind of decisions, this is the perfect time for us to take, because we had a gap now, and soon we will go back to that hustle and bustle of day-to-day life, in which we don't look ahead, we don't think much. But if we think of 70 20 10, that I'm going to go back, and whatever I do, I'm going to learn from it and do it better the next time. 20%, I'm going to take feedback from coach and mentors both from business and from HSC fraternity for my growth. And third is, yes, I will do some technical training from time to time and learn some new skills. I think if you do this 70-20-10, that totals to 100, and it gives you 100% chance to keep growing in the remaining years that we have.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. You summarized very well 70, 20, and 10 rule you talked about. It was really eye-opening for me also, and I hope it will be for everybody. I appreciate your valuable time. Thank you for joining on Clyde Talk Show. We'll meet very soon, sir. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Thank you.